In 2022 we tried to get to Great Britain after Corona and Brexit. We successfully did so. The plan was to visit the Channel Islands. That failed. Weather conditions were not good enough and the harbour of Jersey was closed for renovation. This year the trip to the Channel Islands will get a second chance and includes the coast of Brittany. To minimize the chance of not reaching our destination, a quick start will be made. We want to zap across the sea to Cherbourg to be able to take our time afterwards. It's a bit like the start that many Dutch people make at the beginning of their holiday via the Route du Soleil, the French highway to the sun. But will it be sunny already in Cherbourg? During the preparation of our trip, the question arises as to which places are worth visiting, because there's not enough time to see everything in 6 weeks allotted for the trip. The well-known pilot books hardly go into what there is to experience outside the ports. I decided to buy the Michelin guides for Normandy West and Britannia North. They also include the Channel Islands. As with the Michelin restaurant guides, you have star ratings in these guides. 3 stars is worth a separate trip, 2 are worth the detour, and 1 is just interesting. After studying the guides, the choice of ports quickly became a lot easier. On May 16th, the boat was ready, and we were too. Wind force 4, some rain and 14 degrees Celsius. Quite chilly for the time of year. Finishing the checklist, starting the engines and heading from Flavor Marina in Lelystad through the Houtrip locks onto the Markermeer. Without any nuisance from water plants, which is common in this area, we arrive at the Amsterdam Orange locks. When exiting the lock, we come across a Noordhaven 76 trawler. That's a real ocean liner compared to our boat. You seldom see those in our area. We haven't taken time for long ocean voyages yet, so we travel with a much smaller, fast coast hopper, a 2020 Botnia Targa 46. Destination of today is the seaside marina of IJmuiden. We sail past Amsterdam Central Station, finding a path through the swarming ferries. When past Amsterdam, boat traffic calms down. After passing the IJmuiden Sea Lock, we find a berth in the IJmuiden Marina. Today's trip lasted 5 hours and we covered 40 nautical miles and 3 locks. Time for a beer on the aft deck. Today it all went smooth and surprisingly almost without rain. But we do need to switch the heating on because it's just too cold. When getting up the next morning, the wheelhouse is already warmed. Outside it will not be warmer than 13 degrees today. Against the tidal current, with wind force 3 to 4 on the beam and a bit of sunshine, we are on our way to Newport in Belgium. That place is a nice stopover because, unlike Ostend, they have a diesel pump in the harbour, so we can refuel. Today is one of those trips where you almost sail from one traffic control area into the next one. In my trip planning are IJmuiden approach, Scheveningen, Maas entrance where we have to report, Steenbank, Zeebrugge, Wandelaar traffic, Wandelaar approach, and finally the marina KNYC. We coordinate with Maas entrance on how to pass a large inbound seagoing vessel, but otherwise we can just listen to the VHF today and adjust our course in time to prevent close quarter situations. When we enter the port of Newport, a cold Belgian beer beckons. However, the police summons us to come alongside their ship. 4 officers want to see all the paperwork and I have to do an alcohol test. I explain that I sailed to Belgium especially to enjoy Belgian beer after arriving in the marina and therefore constrained myself while on the way. That doesn't impress them. I'm ordered to exhale into the breath analyzer. Needless to say that the outcome was okay. The emergency fireworks, the fire extinguishers, the life jackets, everything must be shown with a valid inspection paper. At the end of a sailing day, this is slightly irritating, but to be honest, it's the first time in 10 years that we had such an inspection. "You don't have enough parachutes," says officer number 3. "This is sufficient in the Netherlands," answers crew member number 2. "You're in Belgium, sir, and these are the rules here," says officer number 3. "We sail under Dutch flag. You have seen the Dutch certificate of registry, so we are a Netherlands flagged ship and we have nothing to do with Belgian rules," says crew member number 2. I decide it's time for a more pragmatic approach. Being right is not the same as being proven right. I tell officer number 3 that we have 6 more parachutes in the life raft and show him the packing list. Officer 3 apparently sees this as a way out of the discussion and declares that this is sufficient, even for Belgium. They don't need to see the fire extinguishers either. The SOLAS inspection certificate makes such an impression that we can leave the extinguishers in storage. By the way, the men are friendly and we can finally go to our beer without fines or reprimands. We consider ourselves lucky that we have all the paperwork and inspections in order. Otherwise, this would have taken longer and we would certainly have been fined. The harbour master gives us a nice spot with a view of the marina entrance, and after the welcoming beer, we have a nice dinner in the cozy and excellent harbour restaurant. We did the 111 nautical miles, including police control, in 5.5 hours. The next day we refuel in this marina before our departure to Jeb. On the return trip it will turn out that this is a mistake because the diesel at the other fuel station elsewhere in the port is much cheaper. Although wind force 4 was predicted, we sail the first part of the trip in a stiff breeze, force 5, peaking to 6. Wind and waves are on the beam, so our interceptor system needs to get to work. After Calais, wind and waves decrease. However, a ferry from Calais comes rushing in on our port side with a speed of around 25 knots. It's a bit intimidating, but we keep course and speed, and the ferry crosses nicely behind us at sufficient distance. In this area, there are again a lot of traffic control VHF channels for port approaches. We just listen and bypass some large shipping traffic. At Jeb we are met in the marina by the harbour master, who gives us a nice berth. After 5 hours and 112 nautical miles, it's time for the traditional welcome beer. But we do so on a terrace along the quay. For the first time we have a real holiday feeling here. The relaxed atmosphere of France, a terrace, watching people go by while enjoying a left draft beer. We walk through the cozy shopping street for some groceries and decide that we like the atmosphere so much that we want to stay for at least a few days on our way back. The next day we head for Cherbourg. We covered 109 nautical miles in 4.5 hours. Calm sea, wind force 2, 13 degrees, dry. But halfway, suddenly visibility decreases rapidly. We have around half a mile of visibility, but we don't see any ship on the radar, so we just go on. Because our boat is longer than 12 meters, it should have a foghorn at sea. I'm not sure anyone ever uses a foghorn nowadays, but it's a rule to do so in poor visibility. Therefore, this is a great opportunity to test the horn without annoying people. The horn automatically gives a 4-second signal every 2 minutes, and in between the horn switches to the listen mode and amplifies all surrounding sounds through the VHF speakers. Pretty ingenious. Unfortunately, We don't pick up any other signals and nothing appears on the radar. The visibility improves after 15 minutes and we decide to label the foghorn test as successful. Cherbourg comes in range and we head into a free berth in the marina. The first part of our plan was successful. In 4 days from Lelystad to Cherbourg. From IJmuiden we covered more than 300 miles by sea. We had good weather windows without rough sea states and covered the distance in around 15 hours of sailing. You might wonder why we travel only 5 hours a day. First of all, it's relaxed to do so. Also, when going to the south, the tidal current gets stronger. Near Cherbourg at places up to 4 knots. Since the current changes direction roughly every 6 hours, we can travel with following current when opting for a trip within this time frame. But planning is more complex. That current should not be against wave direction, which would result in short, steep waves. A planner in the weather app gives a forecast of wind and waves relative to our heading during the planned time frame. The screenshots shown are of NV charts and the windy.com app. Since this is a special occasion, we opt for a special Danish beer from the island of Cherbourg. We were there last year with the boat and we still kept a few bottles as a souvenir. In the next episode you can see if and how we cope with the famous Alderney race and try to enter this harbour in Guernsey without a collision.